Welcome back to Krown's Crypto Cave. It is a very dark and gloomy morning over here, but plenty of things to say today, plenty of things to update on and follow up on, especially as the traditional markets open up for the trading week. Anyways, I do want to say before we get into it, apologies for the length of time that's been getting to take to get these videos from like standard definition to high definition. It's really fucking annoying for me. I think that I figured out the settings over here, but if there is another issue, if it takes like more than a half an hour to an hour today to get to high definition, definitely let me know, and well, then I have to go masturbate with some more sandpaper, and who couldn't be looking forwards to more of that? Anyways, go take a look at the Krown Chain application over here, and oh, what's this? We got Caretaker's RSI now actually available, which you should check out the video for it if you're interested in such things. I've been showing it on my actual charts themselves. It's my daily driver for my RSI, and I actually quite like it. Anyways, looking at the open interest, what do we see? We do see that it's come down about half a million there, or sorry, about 50 million, not half a million, but 50 million, from 2.1 billion to 2 billion and 500,000. Overall, though, I don't really see anything too much of interest right here that we haven't already said over the last few days, except for this, the Bitcoin dominance, which should actually shoot up from yesterday to today. So that did suggest that when Bitcoin was, again, more or less sideways, we do see altcoins benefiting from that, which does suggest that we are still seeing what's called rotations within this market, which does suggest that long-term more than likely healthy. Looking at the fear and greed index, what do we see? We see a 48, so coming down about 4 points from yesterday to today. Again, quite literally just hovering within a range, so I don't really look at that as anything really worth consideration right now. So let's go and skip everything else and get into the price action charts themselves, and we'll start off with the fresh chart today. Let me just make sure that I'm recording and my microphone's working, and holy shit, all right, scared me for a second there. I thought that I wasn't recording. Okay, great. Anyways, okay, so what do we have here on the daily? Let's mark off all of the easiest parts. We'll do yesterday's, or maybe not yesterday's, but the last couple days this weekend, essentially high. That is going to be a good pivot to the upside, to the downside. What do you know? It's still fucking 10,800, 10,800. Jesus, man, I really cannot speak today, can I? Or ever. Below there, I do still get bearish once again, 10.8 down to 10.5 region. But overall, I would be looking for Bitcoin to come completely back down to the $10,000 base. Maybe another bounce along the way at about 10,350-ish region. But realistically, right now, as long as Bitcoin is above 10.8, as I've been saying for the past, I don't know, half a week to a week now, as long as you're above 10.8, I am cautiously BULLAH-ish. Yeah, we've been here for 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, working on 6 days, so almost a week now, actually. And technically speaking, as long as we're above 10.8, I just generally look for things to float onwards and upwards, mediated by this next region right here, right around just under 11,100-ish region. Let's see if this matches up with the 4-hour time frame or anything on the lower term time frames as well. And yes, what do you know? We do see the 200 moving average traveling its way back down around that region. In fact, a little bit lower than that right now. So as long as we are below that region, especially on a 4-hour, I wouldn't necessarily be looking for momentum to pick back on up to the upside. However, if we do start to close back above the 200 simple on the 4-hour, and especially above 11,100, that would start to look very, very good for continuation back up to the next region, which would still be the same regions, or the same relevant regions that we saw in August of this year, right around about 11,500-ish region, coming in from this massive this massive sideways that we saw for just about a month straight. And of course, that area to break, well, the next one that was relevant from August as well was about 10.8 on this major breakdown right here. And then of course, if you're talking about the whole kit and caboodle, then we'd be looking at 12,050-ish region right here. Now again, these things aren't necessarily like that proximal right now, but they're still going to be relevant if and when Bitcoin does decide to move here. So let's talk about what I'd be looking for in order to denote a Bitcoin move, or like when is it going to be likely? Well, going back and referencing the 4-hour historical volatility percentile right here, I'd say that this is probably the better way of getting it at the current moment in time, as it does still seem to be working relatively well. We've been looking at this trend line for the last, like couple weeks, right? I guess ever since we kind of got into September anyways. And with the pump that we saw up on Saturday, we actually did once again test this trend line here. So that suggests that we are within the overall context of a greater contraction phase during that pump. So what should we expect from a region like this? Well, technically speaking, speaking, we'd expect more of the same. Bitcoin to play out a range, and the range as it is right now has a high of about, well, where we got over, on the weekend at 11,200 to the low of about 10,000-ish region. So it would suggest that we do resolve this. Again, as we've been saying in like the last, over the last couple of days, probably within a week, it becomes about 75% full right around here, and that is 27th, 28th, 29th of September, and we are on the 21st of September. So yes, that would actually be quite literally next Monday is the 28th. So I would say that this week might be a little bit, a little bit more or less of the same. Some more sideways bullshit within this range, which, admittedly is a pretty big range. I mean, we are dealing with big numbers here, of course. But are we expecting fireworks to happen like right here, right now? I'm not so sure about that. In fact, if anything, historical volatility percentile is cooling off in the 4 hour right here and probably does trade a little bit lower before the next short-term move to once again to meet up towards this trend line, which, probably does call the next either local low or local high on a time frame like this. So as it stands right now, we actually are going to see 4-hour momentum also to turn back on to the upside. We see 4-hour Stokes trying to reject the bearish controls, and they're going to have a chance here. And I mentioned that they will complete that. Let's see what happens if we turn this baby on right here. Yeah, they actually will do that if we do close this next 4-hour dildo above 10,920. Now keep in mind that this is only talking about, or it's only taking this next closure into account. After that one, it obviously changes. So, if you're watching this video at like later in the day, it's not going to be the same area. And also you can get this indicator in the description below from Pig himself. Anyways, let's see if this follows through on all of the lower term timeframes like that. Oh wait, before we get into that, I should also notice that Caretaker's RSI did suggest, or not suggest, but it did say that we do have hidden bullish divergence here, and that was coming off of this low, yeah, right here, right around about 10,850-ish region, and we've already kind of come up like what, 150, 200 bucks on a hidden divergence play. I'd say that that's more or less played out, especially for the easier portion of that one. So fair enough. Also 4-hour Jewel, what are we looking at right here? Did give kind of like a I would say definitely soft sell signal right here. Flaccid signal, we'll call it, right around here. But has this already played out mostly? I would say kind of yes. That did have a pretty nasty reset, and not all that much damage was done to price action, going from about 11,200 to 10.8. And I just want to briefly talk about this area for a second longer here. The reason why is because, as I've been saying over this weekend, I've been pretty damn apprehensive about this price action, right? And the reason why is, well, I feel like this area is fraught with peril. But my own rules, just denoted by myself, it's like you can have your own rules as well, and you can do the same thing. As long as above 10.8, I really can't get bearish here, even though things, there's plenty of things abound that suggest this is the time to be cautious, and there are plenty of reasons to be a little bit apprehensive about price action right here. But still, as long as 10.8 is holding, I can't get actually bearish. Again, if 10.8 does break, I would look for an overall move back down to about 10,000 with bounces along the way, somewhere around like 10.5 or 10.350-ish region. But realistically, I'd be looking for another test of the, of the overall lows. Put on your goddamn overalls, baby. Let's go over to the 3-hour and see if this one agrees. If we see more or less the same things here, 3-hour Stokes are going to be popping back up here. But what's going to be needed on price action to maintain that right now? 10,850-ish region. So yes, it actually is starting to come around this the same area, which is also where all these major moving averages are kind of converging at as well. So we are kind of in a big decision phase here as far as Bitcoin is concerned. And I do suspect that if Bitcoin were to break to the downside or the upside, that's going to be the next few weeks, maybe even month or two of price action direction. Looking at the buy hourly, what do we see here? Same area, quite literally to the T, 10,840. And for the hourly, what do we see here as well? We see 10,900-ish region. So this one's actually building up. So it would suggest that we actually are looking to test back onto the upside of 10,100-ish region sooner rather than later if the BULLAHS are going to take charge. But all of the other timeframes do suggest essentially the same thing that we've been looking at for the past, for the past few days. But now there's something a lot more important actually, and this is what I really like about this indicator. I'll show you exactly what I mean right now. So when I'm looking at this this right here, when you look at all the lower term timeframes, and we see that the reverse Stochastic indicator cross is suggesting that momentum will turn back onto the downside if we break below 10,800. That's actually more like 10,850, which is essentially where this same trend line is that we've been governed off of for the last few days, or I guess almost a week now. The reason why that's really, really important now is because they're all lining up within that region. So that means that suggests that if that region were to break, well, momentum's going to turn down at the same time as an actual level breaking. And well, there's your actual technical catalyst for getting that move all the way to the downside. But for right now, it's still, it's still potential, not necessarily confirmed fully or anything like that. And with that said, let's go over here to the medium term time frame, see if there's anything of note as well that we didn't already see on the lower term time frames. And it actually suggests the same thing to the upside. As long as we are below 11,100, no real reason to get excited. However, any sort of a 12-hour dildo closure above 11,100, and yes, I would be looking for extension all the way up to 11.5. I mean, again, I can say that I'd be looking for extension to this level and then this level and then this level. They're all going to be like short-term plays there, but realistically, the point that I'm trying to make here is that I'd just generally be bullish. I'd generally be bullish because we really have to keep a secondary eye on what's going on the 2-day and 3-day, which we'll get into a little bit later. But for now, let's continue to talk about the 12-hour. And what do you know? Caretaker's RSI divergence identification tool is actually suggesting that we may be putting in hidden bullish divergence here. Now, this only suggests that it's a potential, not a confirmed move. And oh, that reminds me, if you actually did get that indicator, and I don't know how the fuck you got it without me making an announcement that it's even available yet, you goddamn savages, make sure to email support@crowntrading.net for access. Do not message me on TradingView. I know that I do say on TradingView, DM me for access. I only said that because the mods there told me that I have to say that. And now it's just caused a shit ton of confusion. No, it's, you still have to go through the website. Anyways, so yeah, looking at this right here, yes, if we do close above that level, I'd generally be bullish, keeping a keen eye on the 2-day and 3-day especially, and even the weekly at some point as well, for moves most likely back up to the tops of the range and probably beyond there as well. Looking at 12-hour RSI, back around here, we did say that there was building hidden bullish divergence, but is that true? Yes, we are in an uptrend here on the 12-hour somewhat. Would that hold through right here between this point and this point? Maybe yes. Maybe yes. It wouldn't be the most obvious one of all time. I probably would still just play the ranges as they are a little bit more obvious here, regardless of the fact. I think that the margin's a little bit too tight to make much out of that, and it's also a very, very shallow read to begin with, so I wouldn't expect much out of it just by the nature of that. Anyways, let's go over to the daily and see what the daily is doing. I believe we already kind of spoke briefly about it, but once again, all the major move averages are coming in right around about 10.8 regions. So if that area does break, again, just another thing, and another derivative price action, essentially suggesting that this area is humongous. But this is all happening. This rally has all happened while daily Stokes have crawled all the way back up to the critical zone. Now, admittedly, we actually did not see this trend line do shit yesterday, or sorry, the day before. That was a good indication that that would have been a good indication that we were going to test back onto the upside. We didn't really get that. We got more or less of the same. We got the same range here. So what does that suggest? It doesn't really suggest anything. It's a moot point, and we go back once again into the drawing board. And what's the easier way of doing this? It always comes down to ranges, or it's not that it always comes down to ranges, but naturally there should be confluences. Naturally, they should be, should always be meted off of something or standardized to something, and that's why I typically use these guys because, well, it's just visible, it's easy to do, and there you go. Anyways, anything on daily RSI? Pretty inconsequential here. Not really too much to be spoken about. I don't think that there's really anything of particular interest right now. What about the reverse Stochastic indicator across here? What is it showing? Yeah, and look at this. Momentum will turn to the downside if we do close this next daily dildo below 10.7. Now that is about $100 below where I kind of have this trend line right here. That I'd be managing off of, but realistically, all these things, again, they come in the same area, and I'd imagine that if we even get a 12-hour or daily below that region, below 10.8, that is, we will naturally see 10.7 get hit regardless of the fact. So I don't really see anything else in the way. Even on the lower term timeframes at 10.7, it's really 10.5 is the next area that I'd be looking for, and then 10.350 if you're talking about like extremely short-term plays. So with that said, let's get off that right there. Let's go to a secondary chart, see if there's anything else of interest this right here. And Bitcoin's still riding the 10 simple moving average. Now we have failed to still get a positive slope on the 20 simple, this brown moving average right here, which is actually really, really concerning. Well, it's not really concerning, but it would suggest that, we're still kind of in the process of a potential fake out here to the upside. As I've been saying for the past like week, I guess now, if there is going to be a phenomenal fake out, if there is going to be a nice bull trap on this run right now, this would be the very, very likely that area that it happened from. Above this area, it's mostly smooth sailing. Below this area, it's mostly not smooth sailing. Well, I mean, obviously, because that would be the failure of it. But again, if we're looking at this from a Fibonacci perspective, we're going to be hitting the 0.5 right here. It's just a little bit of a front run of the, of the more bullish targets. And what do you know? Everyone gets really, really bullish back above 11,000 and then back down. But still, what do you know? What do you fucking know? We're caught between two major fibs, the 0.5 to the upside, the 0.382 to the downside. And where are they? 11.1 to the upside, 10.8 to the downside. If you're wondering why I use the tools that I do, it's because they all naturally have confluence. And usually when that happens, that's usually an extremely good sign. So again, we're just kind of waiting for a resolution of this range, and that's very likely going to drive the next price action for the following weeks. I'd presume, especially when we look at the higher term time frames like the 2-day and the 3-day. The 2-day is of very great interest right here. The reason being because it's just an easier chart to read right now. I think the 2-day price action actually gets things generally better than the daily for spot price action, and it actually looks a lot more similar to what we see on CMEs, just for what it's worth. Just something that I've noticed. Maybe you've noticed something similar or not. Anyways, looking at the 2-day right here, we actually do see something that is of interest right now. And if we do take out yesterday's low, which is 10,759 spot 37, that'll also be a pretty damn good indication that we will be headed lower right here. Not that we'll be headed lower, although we will. That we'd actually be breaking that 10.8 region and initiate those targets lower down to about $10,000 base. However, we got the same opportunity to the upside as well, and that would be the 11,179 tick right here. And if that condition does get met, I look for a rather quick move, probably back up to like 11.5. But again, just generally bullish after that. And this is coming along the side of not only a test, but a successful test of a very long-term trend line going all the way back here to December 2018. This trend line, I guess I always delete this chart, so I always think that it's going to be in there, but it's not. But this trend line goes back and connects with the major lows that Bitcoin put in right here at 3,100, this major low right here in March on the coronavirus dump at 4,800. And if you are looking at this as still playing out, which this would be thus far, then, well, we've just put on our next major low right around 10,000. So is this, does this area have the potential to be a macro low? Absolutely, yes, 100%. It does. But again, I want to see the continuation play, because one drive off the low right here is not enough. But there's also some good things going on here. If we go to the 3-day, there is hidden bullish divergence. Now, again, admittedly, this is the easy portion of this is already played out, but that does suggest that if we do get the second drive and hit the more aggressive targets, it's not just going to suggest a move back up to like 11.5. It's going to suggest a move back up to 12,000 actually, and could probably do the same thing that I showed on the 2-day as I'm going to show on the 3-day. Just taking out not yesterday's, but the prior wick high. It's the same area. It's the same area both to the upside and the downside. 11,180 to the upside versus 10,750 to the downside essentially. And 3-day Stokes are turning up here as well. We got the same trend line going all the way back to the same area as you would imagine. It's 3-day versus 2-day. It's not going to be that much different. So the higher term timeframes, the macro timeframes especially, are still mostly bullish for Bitcoin. So if Bitcoin did come back down, I do want to reiterate that if it did hit the downside targets, first off, 10,000 can still very much hold. I don't have like major reservations with that. If 10,000 does break, then yes, I'd be looking towards 9,100 and even down to 7,500 or $7,000 low. But my point with this is that if we're looking at like the higher term timeframes, like the monthly and the quarterly, which the quarterly actually closes, I guess in like a week or so, a little bit more than a week at the end of the month. And the reason why this is so important, because we only get like four of them a year. It is a quarterly after all. But this is still for all intents and purposes, a very bullish chart. We have an uptrend over a very long period of time, and all momentum oscillators seem to agree, although, how much do I trust a momentum oscillator on something like this that doesn't even have barely any time to actually populate it? Not that much. However, for what it's worth, if we do close above this little hump right here at about 10.8, we'll call it, which again, seeing that 10.8 level coming into visual view, then I'd just generally be bullish for moves back up into the upwards liquid zone from that region, which you can do the math on that and have some fun with that. Also looking at the monthly as well, I'd imagine that we're probably more or less the same there. This would be considered a test down to the 10 simple moving average. And if we do close above, guess where? Guess fucking where? 10.8, that'd be considered a rejection of the 10 simple before getting ready for another move to the upside. Looking at monthly Stokes, they would agree. They would say more up. They are looking quite erect. And looking at monthly RSI, we are just kind of hovering around the bullish control zone, waiting for liftoff if the charts do so suggest. Anyways, so for what it's worth, that's essentially what I have on Bitcoin. I do think that there are greater reservations for it, however, especially in the short-term timeframes, but that's mostly based upon my reads in traditional markets right now, which we'll check out soon enough. Looking at, I want to go back here for a second to the Bollinger Bands, and yeah, I mean, there's not much more to kind of update on that, I guess. It's still the same area no matter which way I cut it. I'm trying to look for something, unique or new here, and I'm not actually finding it right now. The only other point of contingency that I would find on this is the MACD, which is traveling close to the zero read right now, which typically does suggest typically does get a little bit of counter trend pressure there. And this is also coming along the side of the MACD, or sorry, not the MACD, but the histogram on the MACD, loosening up its grip as well. So it does look like we're kind of on a ticking time bomb. If you want to, or if you want to be bullish, you're looking for this to continue upwards and onwards, like probably within these next few days, up to like 11.5, and then probably beyond overall. Just have to fit an overall in there too. To the downside, the more stalling that we have here, if we stall here below like 11,100 for the next 2-3 days, this probably will start to naturally turn down, and then you got some problems. I'm curious if there's anything to be aware of on a weekly as well. Kind of. We got pretty damn close on that last, on that last tick, but usually these kisses actually do kiss and go, and in this case, that would actually mean more upside. And for what it's worth, on the weekly here too, let's actually go to do we want to stay on this? No, let's go to this weekly. We actually did close above the 10 simple yesterday, or did we? Yeah, we did by about $40. So actually not bad. We did not see the same thing on the CME, so they did close about the same price on on like a closing basis. But for right now, what that would suggest is that, as long as we're above it, I guess generally fine. I mean, this would be considered just another retest of the 21 exponential moving average, and all good. Historically speaking, that has been some of the best buy times like for forever. If you're looking at a macro scale during your bullish markets, anytime that Bitcoin is above the yellow 20-month exponential moving average and it has a positive slope, anytime that it comes down and has one of those bullish dumps to it, as you can see going all the way back to fucking June 2012, those were phenomenal buys for absolutely epic moves. I mean, I don't know how else you describe a move like that. 2,000%. It's not always gonna be that crazy, but just to kind of show its efficacy in the past, we have the same thing right around here. We have the same thing all the way to the downside. Yes, it does work to the downside as well, and then the same thing all the way from 2015 to 2018. Bitcoin just loved to play off that. So as it stands right now, all Bitcoin has done is come down to that region, and it does still have a positive slope. We did a pretty damn good reaction last week. So I do think that it would be a little bit, if I'm just looking at Bitcoin, it would be very silly of me to be bearish just based upon what we've looked at in the medium and lower term timeframes. The higher term timeframes are quite clear. Especially when we match up like the 2-day and 3-day momentum oscillators, paired with the weekly trend. That is quite powerful. But I still would remain cautious here, because this would be the area, and it's supposed to look fucking enticing in order to be a good trap, of course. So let's go over and talk about why I think why this is still time to be, in my opinion, a lot more cautious. Looking at NASDAQ futures with it, which is quite correlated with Bitcoin, as has been shown for like months now. But I went into a deep dive on it, I think on Friday or Saturday or Sunday. No, it's Friday or Saturday. And well, to spoil the fucking surprise, there is a pretty strong correlation between them, between the two assets, especially on the higher term time frames like the weekly, monthly, and even more so actually on on the tech sector. I got to give a shout out to GapRex for that one. He was calling that one out, and he was goddamn 100% spot on the money, baby. Jesus, there goes my voice once again. Looking at the weekly right here, though, I would still be looking for this one to come back down to about 10.5 region, just based upon that. Looking at the daily, do we have continuation implied like now, like sooner rather than later? I'm trying to find something here that's of note. No, I don't really see anything that's obvious on a daily actually right now, or anything that really tips me in one direction over the other. Let me actually put back on all these things. I feel like I'm flying blind right now. 4 hours, obviously a lot more bearish. Did get the death cross right here and down in a nice down move after that. Yes, we are below the 377 exponential moving average right now, but I'm a little bit cautious of price action that happens during non-open U.S. hours. So 9:30 a.m. Eastern Standard Time is when U.S. markets open. So I do expect that if we're going to be looking for a move here, we probably have to wait until around that time. So I don't know what that's like, another 8 hours or so, something like that. It's like 8 a.m. for myself right now, so yeah, I think yeah, about 8 hours actually. Anyways, looking at this right here, I would be looking for this most likely to see the next level down. Yeah, about 10.5 to 10.550-ish region. I'll just mark it off right here. Something like this is what I'd say, right around here. And I would essentially be holding on to this as long as we are closing 4-hour dildos below 11,100. So I am short-term bearish as long as we're below 11,100, just looking for this trend to continue onwards and downwards following the 4-hour death cross. And on a daily schedule, I'm more or less looking at this as trappy as long as we're below last week's closing high, or not last week's closing high, but last week's daily closing high, 11,450-ish region. So we could play out a range here for a while, but I do think that the next test, short term at the very least, is down, and then I'd be looking for U.S. markets to open up later, and we'll kind of decide from there. There are a few things coming up this week. I think Tesla has their big event. A lot of people are asking about this. All jokes aside, I actually do really like Elon Musk, but all jokes aside, in a more serious tone, what do you expect during an event like this? Well, the expectations are pretty damn high, right? And this is more or less a psychological thing rather than a charting thing, although that will come into it as well. But the point that I'm making here is that when you're talking about expectations, when you come into an event like Battery Day, which Elon Musk has been quoted as saying, like, this is going to be groundbreaking, this is going to be narrative shifting is what he said. I don't know what it was, but all that does is it just makes the interpretations of that is going to make people have extremely high expectations, because they're like, oh shit, Elon Musk is like going to bring out the next thing. He's talking about Tesla. Like, this guy's going to bring about fucking free electricity or some shit. And then what happens is it's probably really impressive, but because expectations can really only be met and then they're satisfied, and then it's like, okay, well, we expected that anyways. And if they're so fucking high, then how do you exceed that? Or they fall even by just a smidgen short, just 1% short, then what happens after that? Get sold into. So eventually what I'd be looking for on Tesla to happen is I'd look for it to do the same thing as Apple. It's going to give away the whole goddamn split. Look at, oh, this is so beautiful right here. It's so fucking beautiful. This thing's coming not way, but this thing's coming back down to 96 and a quarter. It's giving back the whole what, 4-to-1 split I think it had. I think Tesla had a 5-to-1 split, right? So at some point it will give back this whole thing. It will come back all the way down to like 290 or 300 or whatever that area is. Yeah, about 300 it looks like. But very likely also does rally into this event as well. So, does it make a new high on this event? Maybe yes, but I would be looking for some sort of climactic behavior, especially if the expectations are not met there, which seem to be quite lofty right now. Anyways, what else do we want to look at? Let's go look at E-mini futures for SPY, and I'd imagine it's going to be more or less the same chart as we saw on NASDAQ. Yep, same areas implied essentially. 3250 is the next area they'd be looking for on a short-term move to the downside. I am short-term bearish as long as we are trading below 3320, and on a daily I am bearish as long as below especially 3400-ish region. Let's look at the weekly here too. Is there anything of note? Yeah, the weekly actually is coming in around about 3220-ish region. So yeah, I do think that it probably comes back down and tests around that region. Yes, we did have bearish divergence confirmed, 1, 2, 3 stabs, correlated with this high, and then this more recent high right here. Momentum also is turning down at the same time, back down below the critical zone, very important as well. And the downside displeasures come at you fast. Although weekly RSI could pop back up for a short term kind of up here, maybe even test back up towards 34. That's completely fine. But this one still looks like it wants a little bit more down here as well. I don't know, maybe Trump's got some sort of tweeting technology that he can employ for this one. You never know, because you don't actually have Trump analysis nowadays. So that's why I do also not really like playing traditional markets. Takes one tweet, baby, one fucking tweet. Let's go take a look at Dixie. Is Dixie going to be the harbinger or the key? Bearish, definitely bearish on a daily. So I do still think that this is putting in a major low here, whether it be around 92.25 or 92 even. But it does look like the short term is down and the medium term is also down. And I wouldn't be surprised if this baby does come back down somewhere around like 92.5, maybe slightly below 92.5. So that does suggest that, or at least it would allow anything that trades against the dollar that can rally. It would allow it to rally. So I would kind of have a more bullish bias on that as well. So that's another point in the court for the BULLAHS there for Bitcoin, which actually are building quite a nice case. So yes, I do think that we have some short term down here. The question is, how do we react around like 92.25? That's the real question for myself. Could it reverse from where it is right now? Possible, yes, but I don't think very likely. Let's see what momentum is suggesting as well. Let's see, and down as long as below, yeah, 93.3. So yeah, short term down here. Short term is down. Let's see what euro dollar says. Probably up. Yep, probably back up to 119 test. Short term, still the same thing said about on a weekly and a monthly. As long as you're below 119.5, can't get too excited. But above there, got to switch all my money into euros apparently, as the dollar's getting absolutely fucking boo caked. What else do we want to check out? Link, how's Link doing? Someone who was this in the Discord yesterday? Fuck, I want to give him credit because this was really funny to me. Fuck, I forgot who it was. God damn it, man. Was it Falcon? I don't know if it was Falcon. For some reason, I think it was Falcon, but he said Link looks like a train that just got derailed and is in the process of crashing. And you know what? You're 100% right. You're 100% right. So we did hit our target down to about 90,000 satoshis that we spoke about coming into last week. So where do we lead up into now? I'd probably be looking for a bounce here more than anything else. Maybe another short-term move back down to about well, I guess that's not so short, huh? I was going to say short-term move back down to like 77,000 satoshis, but that's another 10,000 satoshis below where we are right now. Let's see how big a percentage move that would be. That would be about a 14% move. So, it looked rather proximal to myself before doing that. But yeah, very likely another move down short term. But overall, on like a weekly, I do think that we're much closer to having a nice bounce. However, does that bounce lead into reversal or not? I think that really remains to be seen. This is looking a lot more like a macro top here. This is quite problematic. And while I do think that it's going to bounce relatively soon, probably somewhere between here and like 80,000 satoshis or 77 if you want to get super exact. Any bounce that fails to get back above like 12 or what is this, 120,000 satoshis is just fuel for some more downside. But if anything's going to pull through, it's going to be Link. And I'm curious what the monthly says as well. The monthly says do not be bearish at all. In fact, you'd be quite a big fool to be bearish here with the way that it's looking. The reason why I say that is because, well, we haven't even come back down and filled the last open. So that's rather enlightening, actually. That's pretty damn good. So maybe I should get a chance here. I still do think that short term probably down, but I would very much be looking for a bounce within this area. Let's see how it ends coming into the end of the month. I don't really have much to say about it other than that. Cardano still looking for a full retrace here. This got even more like 5 degrees more of ugly here. I'd be looking at, I sincerely think this is about most altcoins. They will be coming back down to their prior 2018 lows and beyond, or sorry, not even 2018 lows, but 2019 lows and beyond. Cardano no exception. And I don't mean to pick on Cardano. I know that there's a lot of Cardano lovers out there, but the thing that this one just accurately represents most shitcoins, right? They just go down. I mean, I'm trying to be nice here, man, but hey, this thing goes only fucking down. Hey, look at this. Down, motherfucker down. But Krown, you don't understand the underlying technology. That's right. I'm trying to manipulate your behaviors so that I can accumulate your Cardano's low. And then I'm going to dump them even lower, I guess. I don't know. I'm going to pump them up by myself, apparently, too. How does that work? Nobody knows. Doesn't matter, though. How does the monthly look like? The monthly looks like maybe one of the worst charts I've seen in a long time. The monthly chart looks like 5 Lexington Teals out of 5. That's how I put it right there. All right, what else do we want to look at? Let's look at this this unicorn bullshit. Oh, this one's cool. This one's lovely. It's only been trading for literally 1 week. Let's do some technical analysis on this. I wonder how much I trust that. Actually, I think up here, this one's very likely to move up. This one's fucking short term. It probably does move up. Okay, I need to be serious here because I feel like I might get misheard or misquoted. I don't trust technical analysis at all on something that's like literally less than even 2 to 3 years at the very least, preferably 5 years, and even that's like low. This being 1 week old, do I trust technical analysis on this? Fuck no. Do I think if you put a gun to my head and said, Krown, is this going to go up or down from here? Has this one topped out yet or not? I actually don't think that it has. If I was just looking at this right here, but how much do I trust that? I don't trust it at all. Like not at all. Okay, is there anything else that we want to check out? Maybe butyrol? Butyrol? Where is he? 373. Looks a lot more obviously bearish here too. Looks like it wants to gun for about 343. Momentum oscillators are doing what? They are traveling up while price action is sideways AF. And where do we turn down? Oh, very interesting. Actually, we do see daily momentum below 354, spot 70. I don't know what to make of that. Let's go to the very low time frames then. 4 hour, as long as we're below the 200 exponential moving average, I cannot be bullish on this in the short term. Yeah, I probably would be looking for some more downside here, but this one's very tight margins. What's the most likely thing to happen? Whatever Bitcoin does, this one will do as well. 12 hour is more angled towards the downside as well. However, though, 340 to 335 is where I'd be looking for this one to come. 12 hour Stokes, nice and pointed down, and we remain to the downside as long as we are closing 12 hour deltas below 385. So problems there too. All right. Do you want to check out gold really quick? Frank, what is the ticker for lumber? I always forget, and then I don't know how to check my replies. Sorry, Frank. Frank. But seriously, I'm actually curious because I do want to look at some commodities just to kind of switch things up a bit. Gold looks like it wants to test some upside here too. This one's been baking for about a month now. Sorry, actually more than that, 2 months, ever since August. I mean, I don't really have anything like profound to say here. It's just, all right. Well, I guess I have the same areas in here implied anyways, but we could kind of tighten it up a little bit. Above 1975, I'd just be generally overall bullish for a move back up to at the very least 2000, but realistically it's more likely to continue upwards and onwards from there back up to like 235, 250-ish region. By the same token, to the downside, the magical number is 1930, be getting moves back down to about 1850 and probably beyond from there as well. So we are at a big pivot point here. This one is slightly more angled towards the upside though. So I suppose I would also be another point in the court for the BULLAHS on Bitcoin, as this one does look a little bit better, and typically they do trade together. As long as it's closing the daily above 1942, spot 80 cents, more so fine. Anyways, this video is already 36 minutes long. It should self-destruct in about 5 seconds, and let's actually go look at probabilities for a second for Bitcoin too. Remember yesterday when the probabilities shifted massively in the favor of the upside? I'm curious to see how they come back today. Let's see, where's my probability panel? There you are. Hello, probability panel. All right, where are you? Where? I see you. Yes. Does anyone here have a tight, creaky grip? Anyways, okay. Upside target probability. Let's use 11.2. That's basically, that would be implying a move higher than our prior wick high from yesterday, and below target, I'd keep it same at 10.8, and let's see what it says. Ooh, the probabilities have once again shifted in the favor of the bears here. 27 spot 27% versus 40 spot 36%. They actually quite literally flipped each other. It was pretty much the opposite yesterday, with us maybe a little bit more on the on the upside. Now, here's the thing. This is deceptive here, and the reason why it's deceptive is because, is a downside target probability, or is the downside target more likely? Absolutely yes. I mean, math is fucking math. Here's the thing though. 27.25% is like, that's kind of high. That's well within the first standard deviation. I mean, that's more or less normal. So equally, the way that I read that is that yes, the downside's more likely, but what they're both suggesting is that we have a strong chance to actually break out of one of the two sides, probably within this next daily closure. I'm curious what the 12 hour would suggest as well. let's see, 12 and 3/4 versus 27. Yeah, more or less same. And again, this is only speaking towards the next 12-hour closure. You can also look at the cone here too. I'd imagine it probably lines up with the same things that we looked at. I'd probably have to go down to the very low term time frames though to get exactly what we were looking at. Yeah. Still showing 11.2 to the upside, and if we were looking at the current area to the downside, well, actually no, it would actually be a lot more forgiving of a downside move here. So fair enough. Naturally speaking, the probabilities will be a little bit more in favor of the bear odds here, but still, 27% to the upside is like, that's not small. That's definitely worth considering. Of course. Whoa, hey, beef coming up right now. I think this is probably a good place for me to shut off this video though. Essentially, I can boil down my points to this. As long as we're below 11,100, especially on a 4-hour delta closure and above, I am more or less looking for the range to continue with a slight bearish twist here. If we do see a 4-hour delta closure below 10.8 or a 12-hour or daily, especially below 10.8, I would get bearish for a rather quick move down to about 10.5 region, 10.550. Small bounce implied there, and probably continuation overall, maybe for the next week or two or whatever it is, down to about 10,000 base. To the upside, if Bitcoin does retake 11,100-ish region, I would generally look for things just kind of float upwards and onwards, basically back towards our highs in August, but with particular interest on the 11.3 area, the 11.550 area, the 11.8 area, and the 12 area. Same areas that we saw from August. Anyways, that's a great place for me to shut off this video. I'd like to wish you well once again. Take care, and until next time.